What if the freedom you felt was just a part of the script? What if your desire to break free was the most predictable move of all? The Stanley Parable is not a game you win. It's a question you live inside. A psychological echo chamber built from walls you don't know you're trapped in. It's about obedience, rebellion, control, and the quiet creeping realization that maybe your freedom was always part of the plan. If you haven't played the Stanley Parable yet, I recommend pausing now and come back later. Let's begin. You are Stanley, employee number 427. Every day, you sit in the windowless office and press buttons on the screen. You don't know why. You don't ask. A command appears. You follow it. Press 4. Press 7. Press left. Press escape. That's your life. Then one morning, everything stops. No commands, no instructions, just silence. You get up from your desk. The office is empty. Desks abandoned. Phones dead. Monitors frozen. The narrator speaks.
But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
So you walk, not toward a mission, not toward a goal, just forward. And then you see it, a hallway, 2 open doors. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This is the moment the game reveals its hand, your first real choice, left or right. It doesn't feel dramatic, no flashing lights, no music swell, but it's a test. You pause. You think, I'll go right. I'm not a puppet. I want to see what happens. That's exactly what the game expects. It wants you to push back. You take the right door. The narrator reacts.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
He keeps talking, keeps narrating, even though you just disobeyed him. And that's when you realize something is off. You didn't break the rules. You stepped into another script. The game was ready for this. It's ready for everything. Try the elevator, it works. Try the broom closet, he mocks you. Jump off a catwalk, he watches you die. None of it is random. Every outcome is planned. You think you're rebelling, you think you're clever, but the game already wrote your disobedience into the dialogue. You don't escape the system. You fall deeper into it. This isn't freedom, it's choreography. Let's talk about the narrator. He's not just a voice in the background, he's a presence, a personality, a force trying to hold the world together. And the moment you defy him, you feel it. He doesn't just acknowledge your disobedience, he reacts. Sometimes with sarcasm, sometimes with confusion, sometimes with something that sounds almost like sadness. One of the most haunting examples is the escape pod ending. You only see it if you follow every instruction perfectly. You walk through the left door, enter the meeting room, punch the key card, do everything by the book, then stop. Step out of the boss's office and wait. After several minutes of silence, a hidden door opens. You walk through a narrow corridor, cold and dark. At the end is an escape pod, and the narrator says nothing. No commentary, no judgment. He vanishes. For a game built entirely on narration, that silence feels deafening. It's unsettling because for the first time, it feels like you slipped through his fingers, like you stepped outside his story. The pod launches, the screen fades to black, and nothing is resolved. No credits, no music, just emptiness. and the sinking thought that maybe this wasn't a real ending. Maybe you were not supposed to find it, or maybe it found you. Then there's the Zending. You take a different path, one that leads to a glowing chamber full of floating lights and warm ambient music. The narrator speaks softly. He tells you to stay. He seems at peace, and for a moment you believe him. You let yourself breathe. You watch the lights move. You listen to the calm. But if you try to leave, his tone changes. He pleads with you. He tells you this place is for you, that you don't need to search anymore, that you've already found what you are looking for. And beneath that calm voice, you hear desperation, not because you're breaking the game, but because you're breaking him. He needs you to stay. He needs you to believe the story still matters, because without you, the narrator has no purpose. And without the narrator, the game has no shape. Everything collapses into static. You need each other, but only one of you knows it. Every ending in the Stanley Parable feels like a mirror. Sometimes it shows you something twisted. Sometimes it shows you something honest. And sometimes it just shows you nothing at all. Take the countdown ending, for example. You defy the narrator. You break into a hidden mind control facility and find what looks like the truth. Monitors, wires, evidence that Stanley's every move is being tracked and controlled. You push forward. You try to shut it all down. You want to stop it. You want to win, but you can't. The narrator won't let you. You run. You press buttons. You search for a way out. There isn't one. The room floods with light, the screen goes white, the facility explodes, and Stanley dies. Not because you failed, because the game never gave you a chance to succeed. And then there's one ending where Stanley climbs the staircase and throws himself off, not once, over and over. Each fall is met with another snide remark. The narrator's voice shifts from irritation to disgust, and then to something colder. Resignation. Apathy. By the final jump, he sounds as if even your suffering no longer entertains him. It's brutal, not because of the violence, but because of the emptiness. You start to wonder what you're even doing anymore. And that's exactly the point. These endings are not just branches, they're portraits. You're not just navigating a story, you're exposing something about yourself, your need to resist, your hunger to discover, your willingness to destroy just to see what happens next.
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
The Stanley Parable doesn't hand you consequences. It hands you a reflection. This isn't a story, it's a parable. It's in the name. A thought experiment disguised as a game. A symbolic loop that doesn't teach you a lesson. It traps you inside one. Even the museum ending says it outright. You wander into a strange white hallway and suddenly the game transforms. You're no longer in an office building, you're in a gallery. The walls are lined with concept art, prototype rooms, unused voice lines, developer commentary. It's a behind-the-scenes look at everything you've been walking through. And in that moment, the illusion collapses. The world you're rebelling against wasn't random. It was carefully designed. Every hallway, every detour, every dead end, none of it happened by chance. You're not breaking out. You're walking through a blueprint. Even your defiance has been placed under glass. Try unplugging the phone instead of answering. The game responds with a unique branch. Stand motionless in the broom closet for 10 minutes. The narrator starts taunting you, then slowly unravels into annoyance and pity. Try to clip through a wall or glitch the engine. You'll trigger the meltdown ending, where the entire world starts falling apart around you while the narrator panics. Every disobedient thought you have, the game has already written into its architecture. That's not freedom, that's containment. There is no outside. Even rebellion is part of the script. Another scene, another variable. Another version of the same question. What will you do next, now that you know you're never out of bounds? What makes the Stanley Parable quietly devastating is that it knows you, not in the superficial way. It knows how you think, how you hesitate before choosing, how you test the edges just to see if they're real. It shows the moment you'll start asking, what happens if I don't listen? It knows you'll step into the broom closet. It knows you'll jump off the catwalk. It knows you'll unplug the phone. It waits for you to do these things because your disobedience is part of the performance. It doesn't punish you. It doesn't lecture you. It just watches. Every action feeds into the machine, and every reaction you get is something the game already prepared. Because this isn't about control, it's about what you reveal when you think you're in control. Psychologist Viktor Frankl once wrote, "Between stimulus and response there is a space, and in that space is our power to choose our response, and in our response lies our growth and our freedom." But maybe that space isn't as free as it feels. Sometimes we don't make decisions the way we think we do. We act, and then we explain. We reach for meaning after the fact. There's a neurological condition called split brain syndrome, where the left and the right sides of the brain can no longer communicate properly. In some experiments, the right brain sees a prompt like, pick up the spoon, and it tells the left hand to do it. But the left brain, the one responsible for speech, didn't see the prompt. So when asked, why did you do that? It makes up an answer, and it believes it. That moment feels like a conscious choice, but it wasn't. It was instinct, followed by storytelling. Action first, meaning second. And the story your brain creates afterwards feels true, even though it isn't. What if the feeling of agency is just the language center trying to make sense of what already happened? The Stanley Parable plays with that exact sensation. It gives you the illusion of authorship while quietly writing everything around you. And maybe that's okay, because even if the script was written, how you read it matters. A journey is still yours, even if the path was drawn long ago. After all, music can move you even if you didn't compose it. A film can change your life, even if you didn't direct it. Even the Stanley Parable was made by someone else, and yet you found something in it. Because interpretation is authorship too. The Stanley Parable is not my favorite game, but it might be one that knows you and I best. It doesn't tell a story, it tells your story, not by narrating your life, but by making you confront your assumptions about freedom, about structure, about the choices you think are yours. Because this game isn't trying to reward you, it's not trying to entertain you either, it's studying you. To see what you will do when the path splits, to watch how long you'll stay in the broom closet, to test whether you'll follow instructions just because a voice told you to. And once you realize that, it doesn't leave you. It lingers in the back of your mind, in the quiet moments, in the choices you make without thinking. What did you see in the mirror of the Stanley Parable? And when that story resets, when the lights flicker and the cursor begins to blink again, what will you do? Because the more you play, the more you realize Stanley was never the one being watched. You were.